What's up, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Hot Mic here on Friday, May 3rd of the year 2024. I am the Outlaw John Roca, joined as always by the Insneider himself, putting some last touches on his newsletter. Jeff Sneider, how are you?
Hello, Johnny boy! Good to see you, baby. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, man. Happy early May the 4th. That's tomorrow. I know you're not a Star Wars guy, but it's happening tomorrow. Good to see you, man. A lot to talk about here. I love the simple green shirt. I dig it. It's a good color on you, man. Respect. We're going to get into so many things going on in the world of entertainment. So we got some stories about some upcoming casting decisions that have been made on a number of projects. It feels like a number of things are starting to take off, Jeff. Some announcements. It's a bit of a slow week, but it seems like you can hear the wheels starting to rev up with announcements from all across the world of entertainment. We're going to talk about some Paul Walter Hauser MCU news. Going to get into this $26 billion bid for Paramount that Sony is supposedly logged and what that means, and get in some reviews and also talk about some other stuff like that article with The Rock about The Rock that was in the wrap from Humberto Gonzalez. So a lot going on here, Jeff. But of course, the Streamlabs Super Chats are the most important thing. Send in the Streamlabs Super Chats, send in your support, send in your love here on the channel as we go along. But Jeff, how are you? How are things? How are you feeling on this Friday after this week of entertainment and your life? What's going on there?
I'm good, John. I meant to pick up a bottle of Voss water on the way home. So I pull it out as like a gag here, but I blew it. Sorry, guys. Timing is everything in comedy. Yeah, it was a good week. Last night I saw Seinfeld live at the Hollywood Bowl for Netflix as a joke fest.
How was that?
I have no money. I'm sleeping in a cardboard box tonight, but it was good. It was worth the ticket price to see him and Sebastian Maniscalco and Jim Gaffigan and Nate Bargatze all on one ticket.
Wow.
It's pretty cool. You really do feel like Netflix is building something here with Netflix as a joke fest, which takes place over like 12 days here in LA.
Yeah, I think our friend Jay Washington is hosting one of those nights in one of the clubs, I think, during this Netflix as a joke fest. So shout out to him. And his progressing career and his stand-up.
Congrats, Jay.
Yeah, congrats, Jay. I'm sure they were better than they were in Unfrosted. So I'm glad you got a chance to see them and do their thing there on stage, for God's sakes.
Did you catch any of it Unfrosted?
I'm about 15 minutes left on the movie, but I think I've got a good idea of what my feelings are about the film, my man. So,
while we're on the subject. Yeah, while we're on the subject, I mean, a lot of people I feel like are gonna
Friday.
Check it out this weekend. It is, the directorial debut of arguably the most successful sitcom star ever. Outside of maybe Julia Louis herself. But I thought this movie, I actually didn't hate it. It's getting some brutal reviews, and I can understand why. It's kind of feels very tossed off and just like, But I thought that there were some clever gags. Like the first half hour, I actually laughed a fair amount, and then it kind of just ran out of steam for me. It probably felt like it should have been a 30 or 45 minute Funny or Die like special. Like, remember like that Andy Samberg tennis one?
Oh yeah.
Like it felt like it could have sustained a 30 to 45 minute length, but 90 minutes, it's just no.
Yeah, they dragged it out a little bit, but it was incredible. I saw someone compare it to It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, and by that they meant the amount of comedy superstars that were able to all be in one film. Or sometimes for literally one scene,
right?
It was pretty incredible. The tentacles that Jerry Seinfeld clearly has, and the amount of respect that all of these actors have for him, that they'd be willing to come in and do like one. Like Ronnie Cheng had like 2 scenes in the whole thing. Like all these great actors coming in.
Just called in a bunch of favors. Exactly. Yeah. Just come in, hit a line. We can put your name on the gigantic poster, and that's it.
Yeah, but it was definitely a machine gun of jokes all over the place. But Jerry's not the best of actors. This is why you get a Melissa McCarthy to be essentially your co-star in the movie and carry you through those moments.
Not the best of directors either.
Yeah, well, yes, agreed. But Gaffigan was fun, and Slater popping up every once in a while is great. The Dinklage cameo was a nice little reveal.
Hugh Grant is to me the best. Yeah, Hugh Grant is as Tony the Tiger. Have you got? So you say you haven't gotten to the end yet. Have you gotten to any like the January 6th stuff?
No, I haven't gotten to that. Where I left off, they're protesting outside.
Yeah, I feel like. Well, there you go. They're protesting outside, and then I'm telling you, it becomes like a January 6th parody. It's very odd. The whole thing's very odd. You'll see.
I don't know if I want Seinfeld to be talking.
You got to finish it now. You got to finish it.
Yeah, I know. I will. I told you as soon as we're done with the show. Absolutely. Well, there you go. There's an impromptu review of Seinfeld. But I said Streamlabs super chats are open. Send them in. I see already a bunch of Streamlabs super chats coming through, so we'll definitely read them a little bit later on in the show. But Jeff, I want to start off the show with something that you broke on your newsletter, just as a recommendation for people to subscribe to the newsletter here. According to, it says the Insneider, not Jeff Sneider, the Insneider. They are looking at Mike Flanagan to come in here to take over. Universal Pictures and Blumhouse is to take over the next installment in the Exorcist series after David Gordon Green smartly stepped down and moved away from this thing. Of course, the last film, it was made for 30. It made 137. So although it got skewered by critics, it still made a decent profit.
It was successful.
So, yeah, it was successful. You can say that. So how did this news come to you, and what are your thoughts on it? Because I think you are a Flanagan fan. So do you like this as the next step for him?
I'm mixed on Flanagan, I would say, and I don't think I make any bones about that. But like, I also need to watch more of his stuff because I haven't watched a lot of the TV stuff. Okay. I think that this is unquestionably a good move. Yeah. You can't continue to make those Exorcist sequels like Deceiver and whatever they were going to call the third one. You can't do that just because they made money. Like, no one liked them, right? So yeah, you can continue to just churn those out and make the money that you made, which was 134 million, right?
Right.
Multiply that times 3, that's 400 million. And of course, you're not keeping the whole 134 million because you're splitting it with theaters. But either way, I think the point is they didn't buy these rights to make their money back.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's a much higher ceiling to this property, and they want to explore what that ceiling looks like rather than just settle for, well, we announced this trilogy from David Gordon Green, and that's what we're sticking to. So, Gordon Green, we already sort of knew had exited. I told you that wasn't going to happen. Yeah. And I think I'd heard that part of this had to do with wanting to move on from the cast as well. Oh. Because I told you that there were a lot of issues with 2 of the actors on that movie. Okay. One on the mental side and one on the physical side. Oh. Yeah.
Can you say who I suppose you can't say who it was.
I think it's pretty clear who I'm talking about, but one of the actors had physical ailments and one of the actors had some mental health issues, I think. And so I think they were eager to move on from that cast. Right. And they're just like, let's just get someone who we probably should have hired the whole time. Right. I mean, Mike Flanagan is a genre luminary. His name does mean something within genre circles, and his work does explore a lot of themes of like Catholicism and like religious themes. Right. That's the exorcism. The Exorcist, excuse me. Right. So I feel like he's a good fit. What did you think, John?
Yeah, I like the idea. Like you said, he comes with a built-in horror cachet. So if you're like, okay, who are we going to get to replace David Gordon Green? Who, by the way, certainly the fandom is split both in the Halloween side of things and in the Exorcist side of things of what the overall finished results should be classified as a success or not a success. So I think it's very split how people feel about David Gordon Green and his trips into horror. But with Flanagan, there's a lot of respect with Flanagan because of The Haunting of Bly Manor, Haunting of Hill House. A lot of people have Midnight Mass as one of their favorite, like, quiet, guilty pleasure movies. Fall of the House of Usher got a lot of positive reaction as well. And people like Dr. Sleep, even though maybe it didn't do great bonzo at the box office, it still was respected. So how do we get people back excited to The Exorcist? Right. Let's bring someone like Flanagan and let's see what he can do with it, what his points of view are. And as you said, tackling religious themes is nothing new to him in his horror. So that seems like an easy fit and an easy fix. And I bet they paid him a handsome check to slide in and try to save.
Yeah, this deal isn't done. Like, obviously it's early days, right? But the two sides are talking, and I think Flanagan has a take that they're excited about. But yeah, he would do his own thing. They're not just going to give him, David Gordon Green's like lame duck sequels.
Right.
So yeah, he came in with his own approach, and I think this all like made a ton of sense when I heard it, and it's like it was interesting because that tip did come in that he's going to be directing the 2 sequels, and then when I fact checked it, it was like, yeah, he's coming in, but it's they sort of corrected me and repositioned it, and then it was like, oh, that makes sense, because it didn't make sense necessarily for him to come in and take sloppy seconds, which were pretty sloppy.
Well, and listen, this could be an interesting thing if he comes in and he knocks it out of the park, and then he does the next installment and people like it a lot, because he clearly has an experience spinning off properties into a TV series like he does. So there could be an Exorcist spin-off thing that he could do, like Matt Reeves is doing with the Penguin, along with the Batman thing in theatrical and TV experience.
Right, for Peacock.
Yeah.
That's not. I mean, that's not a bad idea. I hadn't even thought of a potential small screen component to this.
Yeah.
But I think that you need, again, if you're gonna move on from like the Ellen Burst and stuff, which I think is smart, and Linda Blair, because it's like kids just don't know who these people are. I'm sorry. You know, and that's what you're selling horror movies to. It's like 16 to 22-year-olds. Like, so I think you need a big star to anchor it. I think you have to care about who's possessed. It can't just be like some 6-year-old girl.
Right.
I agree. Not that anybody knew who Linda Blair was in the first film, but like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's a different time. Like, horror at that time was still kind of making its bones in the mainstream. Do you know what I'm saying? I know horror's been around since the 20s, 30s, you know, with the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari and all of that, the German expression noir, of course. But like the 70s is where horror really started to grip people and make these moves and make these Carrie, Exorcist, these kinds of things. So you could trust these newer actors to come. It was about like, oh, what's this going to be about? That's what was the selling point. Now, because it's been established so well, there's a higher bar. There's higher expectations. So I agree with you. We have to care about who it is. Yeah.
There's a lot of Exorcist stuff right now in the marketplace.
Yeah, right.
The reason that movie stood out and has endured for as long as it has is that it really pushed the envelope. I mean, there's some crazy shit in that where if you saw that today, you'd be like, oh my God. Whereas back then it was like, holy shit.
Right.
I mean, when you think about, I'm telling you, I did the math. It made like $400-something million in 1973. Do the math on that. That's $3 billion.
Yeah.
Everyone practically who went to see movies back then saw The Exorcist.
Yeah.
And I think that this could, it's not that, you know, it could ever be that successful again, but it could get back to that, but they have to be willing to really scare people. It can't be what David Gordon Green did.
Yeah. I agree with that. Jamie says, I don't know, Jeff, those Resident Evils keep getting made. But those Resident Evil is like, you don't have the same requirements as Exorcist. There's two different things.
That's a different crowd you're selling it to.
Exactly.
I see every genre shit, like everything. I've never seen a Resident Evil movie. I don't think. Maybe the first one when it first came out.
Yeah, I've seen 3 of those, and they don't get better as it goes along.
Yeah, those are skips.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, let's move on to some MCU news, Jeff. Paul Walter Hauser, hot on the heels of being cast in to take on the George Kennedy role in this Naked Gun reboot with him and Liam Neeson. Now, it is reported, THR is reporting, in other places are reporting that Hauser has scored a mystery role in the Fantastic Four. So joining the cast that's slowly getting announced step by step with Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Joseph Quinn, Evan Moss-Bachrach, and Julia Garner here as the Silver Surfer, and possibly Lakeith Stanfield. So you hear this news. Are you excited about Paul Walter Hauser coming in? What are your thoughts on this? Do you think this makes sense under the guidance of Matt Shackman that you're bringing in a guy like this? And let me ask you another question. Do you think all these things are being announced now because the movie critic has been shuttered and the rumors about Paul Walter Hauser possibly being in it have now been pushed away? So now his schedule is free because he was thinking maybe possibly he was going to be on the movie critic.
I mean, I certainly think that there's something behind that. And I know that Paul denied having anything to do with it, but I know THR, also while going along with that line said, we thought you were shooting scenes with Quentin in February. Yeah. So listen, I don't fucking know what the deal is. I'm sure Paul is treading very carefully. Doesn't want to, say he got a role that he didn't get or whatever. Everyone is careful around the masters.
Yeah.
I think this is like this. What a huge week for him. I mean,
Yeah.
he was literally in the news every day, basically, because the Chris Farley biopic officially landed at New Line.
Right.
Then you get the Naked Gun reboot casting, which I thought was kind of perfect.
Yes, 100% agree with you.
He's great for that role.
Yes.
Like, we questioned his Farley and everything, but I think in Naked Gun alongside Liam Neeson and Pam Anderson, he makes a ton of sense.
Yes, 100%. Agreed.
Yeah. No, you go.
Just real quick, because in the second season of The After Party, he's kind of playing a bumbling guy who thinks he can solve cases. So, like, playing the George Kennedy role, I think, is perfect for him. That was kind of like a dry run for that. So, yeah.
And so then this Fantastic Four news comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I'm on Can't Be a Show when it breaks. And you know, I think he's so busy that like he probably can't accommodate the whole shoot, right?
Yeah.
And if he could, then like, why aren't we casting this guy as Ben Grimm? Like, why wasn't he the Thing all along?
Right.
Right. But I feel like it's like, I think he has limited time in his schedule. So there's only a couple of possibilities, right? It's either a voice role, right? Which he could do do after production, really, if you wanted, which, Herbie does make a lot of sense. But I also don't think of him as like, and the voice of Paul Walter Hauser,
right?
Right, yeah. And so I had heard literally the same day that this broke that the script opens with Fantastic Four defeating Mole Man.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yes.
And that makes sense to me, right? I just don't feel like if you're Paul Walter Hauser and you're blowing up like this, that you take your MCU eligibility, you waste it on a voice role.
Yeah. Yeah, I like this idea. I when I heard the story, Mole Man was the first thing that popped into my head, and then I saw other people commenting on it because it makes sense. It's such an integral part of the Fantastic Four. Mole Man is such an integral part. It's like this kind of throwaway villain that somehow has these interactions with Fantastic Four, never really gets the best of them, but consistently is a villain and a thorn in their side. And so much so that the Incredibles movie paid homage to Mole Man by having the Underminer be who they face at the end and who starts the Incredibles 2. So it makes sense to bring someone like Paul who can play the comedic side of a villain. Makes all the sense in the world as well. And under Shackman's guidance, I think it's the perfect casting choice for a character like Mole Man, who you're not supposed to take that seriously, but who's very in love with his possibilities of being this big supervillain. So it makes sense.
I just like movies that have like that start with like the big sequence or the big scene, and then it cuts to the title, and then you kind of get to the movie that was like a little appetizer, and I'm sure we've seen it in like maybe, I don't know, Mission Impossible, or I'm sure there's a bunch of examples, but I feel like that's what this is. Like that's what this Mole Man appearance is. So yeah, I think he would be perfect for that, and I'm just again thrilled for this guy that his career is taking off like it has.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially after like there was a time like a year ago, I guess, when he got off Twitter, where it like sort of flashed before us. Like, like did something happen? Like, yeah,
he's been on an interesting journey, right? Because he's like embraced his religious roots. He talks about now praying and Jesus and all of this stuff on his social media, but he's also pro wrestling. He's legitimately a wrestler who wrestles matches in a federation every once in a while. So he has got so many irons in the fire. And why not get all this work? Why not work on and be a part of all these franchises? It makes all the sense in the world. Strike while the iron is hot. Don't wait around. Hollywood is. But another thing that broke just a few hours ago is Giancarlo Esposito saying that he is now going to be part of the MCU himself. He announced this at a panel at the CCXP convention in Mexico City. He confirmed that he'll be appearing in the MCU. It is not going to be as Professor X. He says a different role that will be new to the MCU. And he adds that it's, quote, coming sooner rather than later. And it's, quote, better than you can imagine. So sooner rather than later, Jeff, we got Deadpool and Wolverine around the corner, Fantastic Four, which you just mentioned, Thunderbolts, Blade is a possibility here. So do you talk about a guy who's having another renaissance, Giancarlo Esposito, just like Paul Walter Hauser, getting in a lot of things. Do you like this cast? Do you believe this casting? And where
I mean, I don't know what the casting is. Yeah, I mean, he just said I'm in an MCU movie and I'll be there sooner rather than later. I don't. You said it was a new character, like it's not like.
He will not be appearing in a role that many fans suggest, like Professor X, and it's a different role that will be new to the MCU.
But like, you know what I mean by that. Like, is it a character, a Marvel character who's new to the movies, or is it just like his name is Mike Davis? And
no, I think it's a new character they're bringing in from the comics to the movies.
Okay.
That's what I think.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about who he could be playing or what movie it's in, so it's kind of hard to say.
Do you like the cast? Do you like that he's walking into this world? Do you anticipate?
I mean, he's a great actor. Yeah, of course. I think it's smart of Marvel to load up. Let me ask you, with the Paul Walter Hauser stuff and Herbie, like I didn't read the comics, so I don't know what kind of robot Herbie is. I assume he provides comic relief or whatever.
Comic relief, yeah.
So could you hear Paul doing that or no?
I don't know, because Herbie has always been like kind of like a high pitched guy and he gets like occasionally sarcastic and irreverent, and whiny, but also he can be a bit of a nag. I could see Paul doing it, but I don't know. I don't go, like you said, like if I heard Paul's voice, it wouldn't necessarily make it cool that Paul is doing the voice of Herbie. Like say, like if Bill Hader, which a lot of people suggested, that's exciting. Like Bill would be great doing that, as we've seen him do voiceover before, but I don't know that I would necessarily be excited that Paul Walter Hauser is playing Herbie. It doesn't seem to make sense to me.
Let me ask you, how much did we see Rhino in Spider-Man 3? He's like at the beginning of Spider-Man 3, and then is he at the very end? Is that it?
At the very end, yeah. It's not much at all.
Yeah, I that's kind of what I imagined Paul would be doing.
Yeah. So that makes sense for Mo-Man. Yeah. Like you said, his schedule.
Well, I see Mulaney as Herbie. That's a good suggestion.
Yeah. I like that idea as well.
But yeah, I don't think he's Dr. Doom. I think Dr. Doom we may not hear about until well into production.
Yeah, he is not Dr. Doom. That's for damn sure. Let's move on to some more casting news here, Jeff. Hugh Jackman and Jodie Comer, Oscar nominee Hugh Jackman, Emmy winner Jodie Comer, are attached to star in a film called The Death of Robin Hood. It's described as a darker reimagining of the classic Robin Hood tale. The film will see the title character grappling with his past after a life of crime and murder. And this is going to be for director Michael Sarnowski, who did Pig, one of my favorite recent films, and A Quiet Place Day One, which of course we're going to be seeing soon. And it is going to be sold at the Cannes market. So do you like this coming together? And there's a bit of an age gap here, but also, do you think this makes sense? The Death of Robin Hood feels like Logan, an older rebel, finally seeing the error of his ways. What are your thoughts on this, man?
Yeah, I mean, it sounded like an interesting approach to me. I actually thought that one sounded good. I was talking today with a friend about canned packages and just how awful most of them are, especially this year. Although really it's every year. But this one was one of the few that I was like, oh, I could actually see this. And I like the Hugh Jackman, Jodie Comer pairing. Okay, so there's an age gap, big deal. No, I could see them. And
it never seems romantic. It could be just a different thing.
Right, exactly. I think exactly. And Sarnowski is an interesting director. I am looking forward to that Quiet Place movie. I have faith in him.
Yeah. I like that Pig movie a lot. So he knows what to do with these actors. And so I'd be curious to see with the Robin Hood situation. But I don't know, are we clamoring for a Robin Hood that's like, are we kind of done with Robin Hood movies? Does this make sense to you, Jeff?
I think it's a different approach. Like it's not the sort of Robin Hood that we've been trained, to get the last two decades of where like he's like this hero. Like this guy's a murderer. Like he's done some bad shit, and this is he's trying to redeem himself, which I don't think that was necessarily part of the other Robin Hood stories. None of them. They were just making him out to be a great guy.
Right. All heroes and whatever and what have you. So, all right. Fair point. All right. Now, what about this other casting news that broke? Kristen Stewart and Oscar Isaac are set to play vampires, I think, in a film called The Flesh of the Gods. Mandy director, who I loved Mandy. Panos Cosmatos will be helming this thing while Adam McKay and Betsy Koch are producing. It's set in LA during the 80s. The story follows a married couple with Isaac and Stewart being the married couple who descend each evening from their luxury skyscraper condo and head into the electric nighttime realm of LA. They cross paths with a mysterious and enigmatic woman and her hard partying cabal, and then they get seduced in this world of vampires. So,
right.
Andrew Kevin Walker, who wrote Seven, is writing this one. That gets me a little excited. So, do you like this pairing? Do you like this idea as a movie? What do you think?
I think it sounds okay. I was unclear as well whether they're playing vampires or they're playing a couple who get swept up into like a group of vampires. I'm not quite sure, but you're right that Andrew Kevin Walker's presence is certainly reassuring. I like the pairing, the two of them. I'm surprised that she would want to do another vampire movie. I mean, not soon after Twilight, is after obviously a long time ago, and there's a lot of different ways to approach it. There just seems like a lot of vampire stuff. Like, I don't know. Yeah,
Michael B. Jordan. Yeah. Are we? I was going to ask you this. I'd written this in my notes. Like, are we seeing the reemergence of the vampire genre? Are people like now? This has been a bit. Are people now coming back to the vampire type of films? Are people wanting to see these type of films again?
I guess we're gonna find out, right? But yeah, it does seem like there's been a lot of vampire content lately.
Yeah.
But at least Kristen Stewart is doing something, and at least it sounds like people would be interested in this rather than like some artsy fartsy movie. People would be like, okay. Vampires, they'll get on board, huh?
Do you like Cosmatos? Did you like Mandy, the Nicolas Cage one?
I'm mixed on Mandy. Did you? Did you see it?
Yeah, I loved Mandy. I fucking loved it.
Visually, I thought it was good. I don't know. It left something to be desired. I think I gave it like a C or a C+.
Wow. Okay. I thought Cage was great in the movie. And what's his face? God, who played the villain again? I forget who played the
Linus Roach.
Right, Linus Roach, who I've always enjoyed and stuff. Let's see what else we want to hit on before we hit our first break. Oh yeah, let's talk about this. Furiosa is about to come out, Jeff, but George Miller has confirmed that he's working on another Mad Max prequel that will be set like a year before the events of Fury Road.
He's got to move on.
What?
He's got to move on. This should be it.
It's it. This last one. This is it, right?
Yeah, we don't need a third film.
Really?
No.
What if Furiosa makes a lot of money and is successful? Don't you think that would merit that we do want to see a third film?
Doesn't sound like that's going to be the case necessarily, but yeah, I don't know. I want to see what else George Miller can do.
I don't know. What, Babe? You want him to go back to Babe? I don't know, man. He's in his 70s, Jeff. What more do you want?
But I think it would be great if James Gunn could get him to do something in the DCU.
Oh, yeah, because of course he was originally going to do a Justice League.
Just like apply his skills to something else. I don't know.
It could be interesting. But isn't this a way to get Tom Hardy to come back and be a lead of this? Because I mean, it was Charlize Theron's movie, Fury Road. I mean, this could be a way to kind of give Tom a proper Mad Max movie where he's the lead and the sole focus of the film. Do you think that could serve something positive in the long run for him?
I'm going to say, I mean, I don't want to give anything away from Furiosa. Never mind.
You saw it already?
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh.
I've heard things. I've heard things from people. But yeah, I mean, is getting Tom Hardy like some huge thing now, right? Like it seems like when was the last big hit Tom Hardy was in?
It's been a bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how Black Rider is going to do, but it's been a bit.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's going to do that great. It's like a pretty niche movie. So I just, I think George Miller, again, I would like to see him try his hand at something else. Get out of this Mad Max universe.
I guess Venom is what you would say, right? Venom is the big thing, even though those films aren't that well done. They make money, and he's the star of those films.
Yeah, but okay, yes, Venom is a huge win for Tom Hardy.
Yeah,
it's still a Marvel movie at the end of the day.
Yeah, his is an interesting career when you look at movies that he's been in and out of. Like, yeah, it's kind of fascinating. How many times he's the actual lead, and how many times he's just part of the ensemble of a great cast in a good movie. So
and it's like
interesting. Yeah,
I can't wait for his Netflix movie, right?
Right.
But I don't think that's even coming out this year. Like I can't even imagine when this thing wrapped. has to have been 2022, could have been 2021, could have been before then, but like I don't think it'll be out until next spring.
Right. Yeah. Havoc is the one, and then War Party's in development. But yeah, Havoc, Venom, The Last Dance, and then I guess this would be called Mad Max: The Wasteland. It was added to his thing. So who knows? We'll see what happens with that, if it works out for George Miller and Tom Hardy or not. All right, well, let's take a quick break, Jeff, and on the other side, we'll jump into some bigger stories here right after this. All right, Jeff, let's get this big story out of the way. What is the deal with this Sony situation, man? Sony has made apparently a $26 billion bid for Paramount. This is according to Variety and other sources. This would be an all-cash buyout of $26 billion. They'd assume any of the debt there, and it'll also make money for Paramount because their valuation right now is $22 billion. And they're looking at a possible merger with Skydance still, and it's not clear how they're going to respond to this bid from Sony. But just a couple of days ago, Bob Bakish was removed as CEO of Paramount and replaced by a group of senior execs. Maybe this was in anticipation of this bid, and the deal would see Sony swallow Paramount, which would also bring what was the big 6 studios down to just 4: Disney, Sony, Warner's, and Universal, which would probably lead to more layoffs and less projects. But do you think this is a legitimate bid? Do you think it's really going to happen, or do you think this is just yet another thing for Paramount to use in negotiating down the road?
I think that it sounds like Paramount is going to walk away from both offers.
Wow. Right? Well, yeah. Okay.
Right. Doesn't it sound like that?
Yeah. Okay.
But here's what I think, like, what was really the point of all of this, other than like boosting the stock price a little bit.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, this is going where it was always going. Warner Brothers. I think that Warner Brothers probably was like, you know what? Go ahead, try to make a deal with Skydance, try to make a deal with Apollo Sony. Doesn't work out. We're here.
Okay.
That's what I'm guessing went down. And so don't be surprised, because like I don't think Sherry can afford to just sit there and like hemorrhage money. Yeah. Right. Yeah. You got to choose somebody. I mean, you didn't go through this whole process to just like stay pat. So even though like I think Sony Apollo makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Even though, you know, that would mean a ton of jobs lost and one less buyer in town, and nobody wants that. Right. For the long-term health of those assets, Sony Apollo I think makes the most sense. But Warner Brothers also makes a lot of sense. They've just been awfully quiet and they've stayed out of the fray, I think intentionally for a reason. So do you think this is a way, like Sony has now driven up the price? So if Warner and Paramount negotiate, like they have that as kind of a foundation. Well, it's $26 billion is what we were offered by Sony and blah, blah, blah. Do you think I think they're probably trying to squeeze a little bit more. They're probably like, well, can we get 28? Can we get 30? I mean, every billion, counts. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Shocking. A lot of movement. And if it does happen, man, if it cuts down to 4 studios, I don't know, man. Telling people to get into the business seems like a not something to do. I mean, basically, if Zaslav, though, doesn't go after Paramount, then he's a sitting duck, right? I mean, everyone thinks that his studio is going to be acquired. So it's like he's either going to let that happen or he's going to have to get aggressive and take over like the new company. And then, I mean, yes, again, it's one more buyer, but he would be like mega mogul then. Yeah, it's massive if that goes down for him. Let's see what else we want to talk about. Oh, I want to ask you about this. Everyone knows Jeff Sneider. He's a very well admitted pervert. He's a big fan of perverted things in movies. This is true. A new report in The Economist has cited a study by film data analyst Stephen Follows, which confirms that the portrayal of explicit content in theatrically released films has dropped sharply. Apparently, the level of sexual content in cinema has fallen by almost 40% since 2000, with the number of films with no sex at all increasing from 18% annually to 46% annually. Although there was May, December, Saltburn, Poor Things, and Fair Play recently,
The decline, though, is reportedly the steepest in action movies, where you would normally get to see some TNA or some really hot lady in her panties or maybe half naked, with a drop off. Oh, and dudes as well. I don't want to be unfair. With a drop off of approximately 70% over that period. And this is all look each year since 2000. So, Jeff, are perverts going the way of the dodo? Is your time over? What's the situation here, my man?
I mean, it certainly seems like studios are playing to the incel crowd, if you will, since that's more and more people. More and more people are staying at home on their devices.
Yeah.
Unless, yeah, I guess they're just giving those people what they want, which is a reflection of themselves or something. They just want to be shown a world without sex, so they're not reminded that they're not getting laid or something. I don't know. I do think it's crazy how like prude America is, and how like, especially in how much like we love violence.
Yeah,
right? we love violence, but can't stand sex. It's very bizarre.
It's puritanical. Yeah.
I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff to do with it. I think that the internet has stuff to do with it, right? Like actresses, I don't think want to necessarily get naked on camera,
right?
And then because then it just lives forever online. It's not like, oh, this is just for people who watch this movie, right? Like they're rewarded, or they're given the privilege of seeing this actress naked because they did it for the art. Now people just on demand so and so naked, and they can get the screenshots, and it's like, well, that's not really why I took my clothes off.
Right.
For this movie. So I think that has something to do with it. I think that people, I mean, it's also become a science, right? I mean, there's a fucking intimacy coordinator now.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
and it's probably for the best. I understand why intimacy coordinators exist, but at the same time, I think it takes some of the spontaneity and danger and edge. Like that stuff radiates on the screen. And when I think everything's just choreographed, and I'm going to put my hand here and you're going to go like this, and like I think it makes it seem more mechanical on screen.
Yeah. I think this has been going on for decades, this progression to this point. And by that, I mean, we've seen more and more actresses be outspoken about their experiences on set with nude scenes, with sex scenes. Kate Winslet coming out a few years ago saying, I won't do nudity again, but then I think did nudity in one film, two films later. So you see, and then with the Me Too movement, this idea of like, oh, how many of these women want to not show their bodies and don't need to show their body? They're tired of the male gaze. So that becomes a bigger and bigger part of this. Because let's not lie to ourselves. This is mostly women. Like, you get the occasional Harvey Keitel penis in the piano, but it's really rare. Or the Chris Hemsworth butt shot in Love and Thunder. But it's mostly the women who've been the focus of nudity in movies or sex in movies. And so I think
we're definitely seeing more ass. We're definitely seeing a lot more male ass.
A lot of male ass, that's for sure. But this
not a hair on these asses, not a single hair.
Exactly.
These are hairless asses that we grow in Hollywood.
Little Brazilian wax, shall we say. But so I think it's just a change in the movement. And you're right. I think the incel stuff has something to do with it. I think the uber religious people, telling people to feel shameful about sex, or trying to tell people they don't use sex for certain things. It's all of that. But I imagine there'll be a backlash. And I also think filmmakers who would maybe tend to go in that direction aren't getting their films greenlit. I'm sure there are plenty of scripts out there with about a lot of nudity in them, but they're not being greenlit in the ways that they did in the 90s and the 80s and the early 2000s. So I think it's just been a progression of things now where people don't want to dive into this kind of stuff, which I think is a shame, because there are some projects that call for it that I think are essential. And
no one writes it. No one writes erotic thrillers anymore. Where's Basic Instinct? Where are these movies? They're basically on television now.
Yeah. Joe Esterhaus, where are you? All right, let's see what else we want to
take a break.
Already? It's only been 10 minutes since our last break.
Wait, we did a break 10 minutes ago?
We did a break 10 minutes ago, 30 minutes.
I don't even remember.
What's wrong with you? We started with the Sony story on the way back from the break.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there you go. Anyway, all right, so we're out of the sex thing. Let's move on to The Rock. We got to talk about this, Jeff. I mean, big story dropped. Humberto Gonzalez earlier this week. I did a whole video on it, live, reading line by line through that article and giving my assessment on it. But a lot here got revealed in this article about The Rock's tardiness, about issues behind the scenes with Ryan Reynolds. Apparently almost got into a fist fight. about him peeing, as you said, in DeVos bottles. But now there was a report that dropped earlier today that the person they think that might be behind these leaks are the Rock's former publicist who he fired, Stephanie Jones. And this was according to The Puck, Matt Baloney's The Puck, that quote unquote, that may or may not explain the leaks lately. And Jones was also fired by superstar client Lauren Sanchez. So do we have a fired publicist? Is this sour grapes? Is that who we should blame for these leaks about The Rock? And what were your thoughts about these leaks?
Again, I thought Umberto did a good job.
Yes.
I thought he clearly spent a lot of time, talked to a lot of people.
Yes. A lot of sources.
But I also understand the criticisms of the piece and how people were like 6,000 words to basically say The Rock is late and pees in a bottle.
And fights with people on set and has caused problems, cost overruns on films.
Other people have said, okay, Dwayne is no angel, right? And I think even Campy on his show had said that a bunch of people had maybe reached out who worked with The Rock and sort of backed up that he does have a problem with punctuality. But I've also heard that, in the pantheon, The Rock ain't in the top 10. Of divas. Okay. Yeah. So like a lot of people also were like, okay, he definitely has, his star issues and things like that. But like, yeah, as far as stars go, fairly nice guy compared to the rest of them. So, there are two sides to every story. I also acknowledge like it was a little rough on Hiram.
That story. I think that's who came out of this one worse for wear, and Amazon Prime Video. Essentially implying that they also have problems trying to make this change. We remember, Jeff, just a few years ago, from like the more art house films trying to win Oscars to going towards the more populist route with the Bond stuff. Now we're getting bed with Rock. And that they were having trouble. They name by name in that article.
Listen, I think that's fair. Okay, so I've known Julie Rappaport a long time. Julie Rappaport's a great executive, and she came up under Harvey. So most people who came up under Harvey are pretty good at their jobs. It is true, though, and Amazon has already sort of taken steps to correct this. Yeah, she has not made a movie like Red One. That's a $200 million or $250 million movie, right? She has not done that. Yeah. So they brought in Courtney Valenti from Warner Brothers, who oversaw Barbie and like has experience making big studio movies. They brought her in and moved Julie to like, the head of, I think it's maybe indie movies over at Amazon. I forget what her actual title is, but Valenti is there to oversee those big budget movies. Right. So I'm not saying that Julie did, I didn't speak to Umberto's sources, but I believe them that there are people out there who, because she's also very young. Yeah. Right? Julie is the kind of executive that I think we need more of in Hollywood, which is we need a youth movement. Like, because we're not going to have leaders if you don't fucking give these people positions of leadership. She is one of the few fairly young people who have a role like that. And so, like, again, I think that there are probably people who are jealous and spoke about it for this story.
But I do think the story, I think it's dangerous to minimize, or I think it's incorrect, shall I say, to minimize the stories just about The Rock being late and pissing in bottles. There's much more here, including getting into altercations with his co-stars about his lateness. I mean, Ryan Reynolds is universally considered one of the nicest guys in Hollywood, and you're for pissing him off, you're clearly doing something wrong. And this article kind of turned around the narrative about The Rock and Vin Diesel and Fast and Furious. It actually gave Vin Diesel, I think, a little bit more of an edge here in the battle between the two. If his issues with The Rock were because he was coming in late when everyone else was on time, causing cost overruns, being arrogant about it, because look, you can come in late, but you're saying, oh, I'm The Rock, I do this, I do that, I go on my own speed, whatever. But like, people are paying the price for that. For every person who gets insurance, there's another person who's missing his wife's birthday or his family member's cancer treatment or any number of things because they're stuck on set because of this guy being late because he has to do a 3-hour workout. you know, and
and a million other commitments too, right? Like all these people are totally over leveraged. I mean, we say it here. Oh, how can they do this and executive produce this show and do this and do this? It's because some of these things get neglected.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I look at. Like The Rock is the one person where you look at and go, studio knows I know what we're getting involved in. We got to transport his gym everywhere. He's got the Terramana, he's got these shows, he's got this other stuff, and now he's going back to WWE. And a new report came out today that a number of from Meltzer that a number of WWE wrestlers behind the scenes felt like The Rock was falling apart in Hollywood and ran back to the WWE to rebuild his image. And so I don't think that's out of their own possibility either, man.
Wouldn't you? I mean, that's like the smart move. It's the you can always go home again. You know, like so. And I think that there's something nice about that. I don't think that there's something that's a shameful thing. I think The Rock is right that his brand maybe has taken a hit, and so who better than to turn to than WWE fans to resurrect to resurrect that image. I think that Dwayne is taking certain steps to do things differently, which is why he's doing the Smashing Machine with Benny.
Yes.
Some people have said, listen, Benny has no idea what he's getting into with this
that's what the last bit of the article
right?
said.
Just like, I thought that was really funny. But I think
he's taken a lot of hits, Jeff. Like the last couple of years, both in these articles and on sets and the results of his movies. This is Red One, and you've already intimated that Red One, from what you're hearing, which is why you didn't get to go to see the footage, was looking like it's going to be a terrible film. And they handpicked people at CinemaCon to see this footage. That tells me we're only going with the Rock aficionados who've said always positive things about The Rock to watch this movie so we can fabricate the narrative.
So now that's not The Rock's fault. I mean, that's a PR and comms mistake. And I just think that's just such a rookie mistake. Like you're going to have, like, there's all these journalists who are paying to go to CinemaCon, and then you're going to put on a private presentation for like a half dozen of them. Yeah. I mean, and forget that I wasn't in there, but like the rap's not in there. Yeah. Like what? Yeah. Like, this doesn't make sense. So whoever's idea that was, not good.
But they clearly knew the Rap was working on this article, which is why they probably weren't invited to the screening. I would imagine.
I mean, like I said, this has been in the works for a while, so I think that you're right about that, and that probably was behind it. I mean, this is the reporting I think that we want more of. I have to give Umberto credit. You know what? Again, there are two sides to every story, and I'm sure that Dwayne will get his side out there. But I think he has to take responsibility and acknowledge, some bad behavior on his part and try to do things differently. Maybe he won't show up on time every day, but instead of 8 hours a day, 8 hours being late, he'll be late an hour or 2 hours.
Yeah, and I said this on my show. I interviewed him twice. Both times he was hours late to the junket. But when I got in the room with him, he was willing to do whatever. And for a new guy like me coming on at the time, the fact that he did a Schmodown promo with me, and then another thing where we and Jack Black and Kevin Hart, they did a promo off to promote the movie that he judged. He was up for all of it. Incredibly nice, incredibly kind. So yeah, that's the price you pay. He's a little bit late, but when he gets there, he gives of himself. And maybe that's how he rationalizes it, because he's doing so many things and says, look, the studio's making millions of dollars off me. I'm only getting paid a certain amount. They can wait for me. And so I don't know.
Umberto is here in the chat, by the way. So hi to Umberto. And again, it takes balls to release a report like this on one of Hollywood's biggest, most beloved stars.
Yeah. I agree.
Let's not discount that. And that's one thing I think the Rap and Sharon have always deserved credit for. Doing the stories that the others won't.
Yeah. Umberto, you did an excellent job, brother. Loved it. I really enjoyed reading that. And I'm a massive fan of The Rock, but I'm also open to, we know how it is in Hollywood.
These people aren't perfect. Like what did Ellen do? Like Ellen sort of acknowledged some of her faults, right? She kind of instant and took a step back. I don't think the Rock could or should or has to take a step back, but there needs to be some sort of acknowledgement of like, okay, I could be a better leader, and I've learned from this experience. And take issue with some. You can take issue with some of it, sure. But like to say the whole thing's bullshit, like, come on.
Yeah, certainly Amazon Studios pushed back, and Umberto included that in the article. But
They have to.
Yeah, right. The issue with The Rock is, does he have to? Because I think he's made a concerted effort, not only going back to the WWE, and by the way, him going back to the WWE wasn't received warmly initially by the WWE fans. He was booed and rejected by the WWE fans because they sensed what he was doing. They had to change the angle for him to be a heel again for the WWE fans to embrace it. He tried to come back as a face and step in front of another face, which had been built up for a year to get a WrestleMania match. So he had to earn his bones again all over again there. So he did it, which I think speaks volumes. But he also went on Fox News and said, in that interview, like, I'm not going to pick whichever Biden or Trump. I'm not going to pick between them. I'm just doing my work and blah, blah, blah. I think he senses that he doesn't have to apologize. And now he's he's on the board of directors for TKO. He's on the board of directors for this Netflix stuff with WWE. There's a possibility. He says, well, you know what? I don't have to apologize because I'm making millions and millions of dollars and people clearly enjoy the stuff that I do overall. Maybe not the movies anymore, but other stuff going on. So there may be a defiance from him rather than I got to learn the lesson. We will see, though. I think it's going to be interesting to see how he reacts to it.
I'm down for a villain turn from Dwayne, like a real heel turn, like Will Smith.
Oh, yeah. That would be great for sure. Umberto says, John, I saw your previous video as well, so thanks. Oh, thanks, Umberto. I appreciate you watching that. Very kind of you, brother. Nothing but respect. One of the first Latinos through the door, brother, so I got nothing but respect for you always, man. All right, let's we're not time for a break yet, Jeff. You got to hold on a little bit longer.
Come on, I'm here, baby.
What's your thoughts on this He-Man film going up? Speaking of Prime Video, what's your thoughts on He-Man, this He-Man film coming in they actually have a date, June 5th of 2026. Travis Knight is going to direct this film adaptation of the He-Man Masters of the Universe with Chris Butler writing the screenplay, taken over from David Callahan and Aaron and Adam Nee. So they've got a date for this. It's not even a cast. There's not even what's your thoughts on this? Do you like this idea? Or is this a dangerous thing to be setting up?
This is what I'll say. I don't love the idea of a Masters of the Universe movie. I don't, especially like at the budget that they've been talking about. And they paid so much to buy out the development from like million. Netflix and other studios. Yeah, I was like, this doesn't seem worth it. But Travis Knight was a good hire.
Yes,
and I will say that the log line sounded good. The log line where it's like 10-year-old Prince Adam and he has to be like reunited with his sword or whatever.
Yeah.
That got me a little bit more interested than what I was picturing before.
Right.
But still, I think this is a very risky bet.
Yeah, the log line is a 10-year-old Prince Adam who crashed to Earth in a spaceship and was separated from his magical power sword, the only link to his home in Eternia. After tracking it down 2 decades later, he is whisked back across space to defend his old planet against the evil forces of Skeletor. So you're putting it on Earth for a certain part of the movie and then bringing it back to Eternia. So that's an interesting decision to make. It is much more. It's much more of a. It makes me more interested to see what we could get from a film like this.
Now, who's doing this movie, John?
Amazon Prime.
And who's their biggest star?
I don't know right now. Who would you say is their biggest?
Literally, who is their biggest star?
Big? You mean size? Yeah. Go ahead and answer the question. I don't know who.
Fucking Reacher.
Oh, you mean Alan Ritchson? Dude. You think Alan Ritchson?
Dude, I don't even. Why even make this movie without Alan Ritchson? Yes, I think he absolutely has to be your He-Man.
Really? I think that could work, actually. He was never going to be Batman. It's ridiculous they keep asking him about that. But He-Man?
I mean, that like he could do way better.
Yeah.
I'm saying if you're them now, like before he gets on, like whatever the fuck he's going to get, and he's going to get some stuff, get him now, like if you can.
Yeah, that makes sense. Could be a franchise.
Amazon, that may play into things as well, since they sort of help make him a star.
Right. And Travis Knight did a nice job with the direction of Cena in Bumblebee. So clearly he's got no problem with these guys who may not have the most range.
He's a young Cena, and he's maybe even better.
Yeah.
And Ronnie be good. You're right. I'm saying Richardson does deserve better, but it's like if they're gonna throw money at him, like from the studio's perspective, I don't know who else you're trying to make this movie with. Not Kyle Allen. That is not the answer.
no, but
and Amazon wants to do wide releases, guys, and like you need movie stars for wide releases, and Richardson is getting there.
Yes, he is. Unfortunately, Gentlemanly Warfare didn't make any money at the box office, but he almost stole the movie. So I liked him in the film. I would love to see more of him for sure. Down the road there. All right, let's anything else that I've got on this list?
Goggins as Skeletor is a good suggestion by Ryan.
Walton Goggins.
I mean, I know he just did the Ghoul. He kind of, already looks like Skeletor in that.
Yeah. Do you have any stories you want to bring up? Because I want to save the other one for after the break, and then we'll get into Streamlabs and Super Chats. Anything you want to discuss? Any pitching you want to do for your newsletter of any stories you broke this week that we can touch upon?
Not off the top of my head. Come back to me.
All right. Well, let's take the break now, and we'll get into some reviews and answer your Streamlabs and Super Chats right after this. All right, we're back. I will say this: Jeff's breakdown of the Emmy Awards and nominations, and then the summer preview, I thought was a good read. So if you guys haven't read the summer preview of his, you should do that.
Was there a movie that you thought I was overestimating or underestimating?
Oh my God! Talk about coming back to me. I'd have to look at it all over. I mean, that was dude. Your shit was long. That was a long read.
It was a long preview, yeah. Basically, it was that I think the top 3 movies of the summer, guys, are like I don't think I'm breaking any news saying this: Deadpool and Wolverine, Inside Out 2, and Despicable Me 4. And I think that Twisters is kind of positioned to be the clear 4. Some people think Twisters could win this summer. I don't see it performing that well, especially with up and coming cast.
Yeah.
But I think Trap could surprise. I'm nervous about Horizon. Like there was some good stuff in there. So thank you, John, for reading that. And then on the Emmy front, is there anybody that you're like rooting for this year?
I think we talked about it already. Baby Reindeer. That's really the big one for me that I saw coming out that I hope to see, Rich, because I don't believe you guys. I think people are overlooking it and it's not going to get nominated. I don't. There's something about the material, the subject matter, how many people really want to put themselves through in the voting body to look at it. But I hope I'm wrong. I hope it is nominated.
Let's say it gets in, right? Let's say it gets in and it's Baby Reindeer versus Shogun versus Fargo in limited series. Like that's fucking stacked.
That's
series.
a great battle.
I don't think season 5 was so good.
What's that? Oh yeah.
Fargo was really good.
But I still think Shogun wins that, don't you think? That's the more popular.
I mean, on paper, yes. But I also think it's like the least likely to have been watched.
Okay.
I feel like
how come you only have 200 million for Alien Romulus? Why don't you think it's going to do better than 2? I'll pick a movie. Answer your question. I'll pick that. I think that has the potential to get to 4 or 5. You think it only can get to 200? Is that all you see it doing?
Yeah, because it's not like the others. It's not Prometheus or Alien Covenant because it's not Ridley Scott. I think it's like a new young crop of teens, and it looks really good. Like I thought it was like one of the best things that I saw at a CinemaCon. I think it's gonna. It also looks like. Yeah, I think at the mid-August date too, it doesn't inspire a ton of confidence. I mean, 200, I think it's generous. I don't know how many box office analysts are even predicting that much, but
yeah, because it's horror, clearly the horror point of view, and the Alien franchise, which a lot of people love. So, but I hear you about the Ridley Scott not being involved. Maybe that turns some people off. Although the last few films have not been that great from Ridley Scott in the Alien franchise, so. I'm wondering if maybe this new approach will excite people more, but maybe word of mouth.
But no stars, there's no Fassbender. It's just a bunch of young people getting offed. Like, I don't know if that'll be enough. Plus, it's a horror heavy summer, and by late August, I don't know if there will be some fatigue on that front.
Good point. Maybe you're right. I like you giving Slow Horses some love on your Emmys thing because that's film. I feel like that's the show. That's like an indie band. I feel like Slow Horse is like an indie band. Like those of us who love that show, the 3 seasons of that show, we get together and hang out. It's a small room. It's not a big room. So the fact that you're highlighting it, I think is interesting decision to do that, because I think that show has been one of the best shows on TV the last few years, and I never hear the buzz for it that I should for a show of this quality with this kind of acting and writing and direction all around. So I like that you included that in there.
Oh, well, thank you. I've never actually seen an episode of Slow Horses.
What?
Yeah.
You're literally the lead of the show. You are literally the lead of the show. You need to watch this. You are
Jackson Lamb.
You're the Gary Oldman character.
Schlubby spy eating ice cream.
Yeah, who, like, doesn't care when he gets a little disheveled at times. Is always 1 or 2 steps ahead.
Worried about the fate of the world, not about personal hygiene, John.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, I've heard great things about that show, and it seems like it's really gained momentum and some steam since its debut. And it seems like a fucking weak year for best drama. I mean, are we really just like automatically like, last season of The Crown? That's it. We just gave The Crown. That's it.
Yeah, I don't know if The Crown. I mean, could Fallout pull an upset?
No,
you don't think so? Okay. And I agree. It's kind of a weak year. It's kind of a weak year.
Seems like a very weak year.
Yeah. What's one more thing that on your Emmy thing that so Quiet on Set. Let's talk about that real quick, man. He is now suing the people who made this documentary. Do you think this is a waste of time to sue these people? Because this is all stuff that people accused him of, that's all they used is people who are legitimately accusing him of these things. What could he possibly be suing for, man?
I mean, he's suing because they made him out to be a child predator, and he is swearing that he didn't touch any children. I mean, I understand that, because I bet if you ask people, just like if you went up to people in the street, do you know the name Dan Schneider? Oh yeah, pedophile, but he hasn't actually, been convicted of anything like that. And so it's the media, it's the outside sources giving us that impression. I don't know. I don't know what he could actually sue for, but it did seem like he had a case in just reading the preliminaries, although I haven't done it.
Watched the shit.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what was said. And it's showing one of those Nickelodeon stars getting hit in the face with a liquid, right? On the face. And it's maybe there's a sexual connotation to it that's pretty clear, but there's a big difference between saying, okay, the guy who came up with that is a pedophile and touches kids. No, it's a fucked up sense of humor, maybe that's considered inappropriate now, but that's a big leap. So I don't know.
But I think that's why I know you're probably not going to watch it, but I think that's why it's important to watch it, because in context, all of that makes sense when you see what these 2 female writers talk about, their experiences working with him and what he would say and the jokes he would make. It makes sense. The Amanda Bynes stuff is an interesting part of it. I didn't come away from it thinking he was a pedophile. Okay. What I came away from thinking he was a sexist, clearly at that time, and
a bad boss, and he acknowledged that, right? A bad leader
and slightly racist, or at least not understanding that there could have been more care towards some of the black.
I think that was a lot of television back then, right?
Yeah, no, 100%.
That was just kind of acceptable.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So look at Friends or Seinfeld. How many black characters were in that show? It weren't that many. They're memorable, but they weren't that many. Yeah,
it's just tricky. I don't think I don't think he's a great guy. I'm not pinning the medal on him,
right?
But I also don't know that he's earned the reputation that I think that he has.
Fair point. All right, and let's get into some reviews here, man. The Fall Guy is getting some decent reviews, 86% on Rotten Tomatoes, 7.2 out of 10 on IMDb. So, what are your thoughts? Did you get a chance to see this one? Do you have any feelings on this movie at all?
Forgive me, which movie?
The Fall Guy.
Yeah, I thought it was okay. I mean, I saw it at CinemaCon, right? It was starts strong, it ends decently, but the middle is just flabby, and the problem is that it separates its 2 stars, right? It sends Gosling out on an adventure on his own, really.
Yeah.
And so Emily Blunt is kind of left hanging a little bit.
Yeah, it's interesting. Liz Shannon Miller liked it, but Alonso Duralde said it was a bit overdone. Kevin Marr on the Times said it was a lazy, cliche, or leaden. So it seems a bit split. Yeah, and even Derek Smith at Slant called it bland derivative action comedy that's never quite as funny or thrilling as it thinks it is. But other people have said that they really enjoyed it, say positive stuff about it. So
but most people, you know what I'm going to call them. Listen, this movie is not a very good movie.
Okay.
Like, just in terms of
like already coming in light at the box office, Jeff. So
yeah, the way that it's written, like it is a love letter to stunts, but it's like the movie thrives. You haven't seen it, right?
No, I'm seeing it tomorrow.
The movie thrives when it's Gosling and Blunt doing like the 50s screwball comedy thing and trading barbs. Right. But it's so preoccupied with, well, we're David Leitch and we're 87 North and we blow everything to shit and we have the coolest stuntmen ever. And it's like, that is not really what this movie could have and should have been. Right. Yeah, I don't think he's a great director. I don't understand why Hollywood's obsessed with David Leitch.
Okay, this is what I was going to ask you next. Do you think that this, like, we've got enough movies to make an assessment on David Leitch? Atomic Blonde, Deadpool 2, Hobbs and Shaw, Bullet Train, and now Fall Guy. Like, the feeling is there's always a lot of great potential in these movies, but they never really hit the high marks that the potential promises you that the movie is going to. Even Bullet Train, which I think is the best of all of his films, Bullet Train, there's a lot of unrealized potential amidst all the badass action sequences, and it doesn't quite get there. Atomic Blonde, that should have been a franchise for Charlize, but the film itself is good, okay. It's not great, which is what it should have been to launch itself. So there always seems to be something missing. Like, he's a B- C filmmaker overall, but the stunts are always A+. And
was there anything missing from John Wick?
Yeah, but he's a co-director on that. He's not the
No. But what was missing? I didn't think anything was missing.
No, nothing on John Wick.
There's nothing missing because he keeps it simple. He tells a simple story and says, this is what we're going to do. And then he goes and fucking does it. So that's why it's pretty clear to me John Wick is definitely his best movie. I think every other movie has been underwhelming to various degrees. Even if you do like Fall Guy, and there are things to like about Fall Guy, and there's things to like about Bullet Train. Sure. Bullet Train should have been fucking incredible. That book was amazing. And you're right. He left something on the table.
Yeah.
He's not. If I was an executive, I would look elsewhere.
Yeah, he's kind of these directors who remember from the 80s and 90s that would do these films that like never quite, like, I don't know, I don't want to say any names, but like, you knew they were going to end up on the DVD shelf quickly and they weren't going to stay in the box office too long. So
he does serviceable studio entertainment. Like, again, it depends what I'm hiring for. If it's Now You See Me 3, I'll hire you for sure.
Right.
But a summer tentpole that's coming out first weekend of May, no.
Okay, right. Fair point. Anything else you want to? We already talked about the Unfrosted. Is there anything else you saw this week that you can give a decent review or mini review on to recommend for this weekend for people to watch?
I would watch that Presumed Innocent teaser that they released on YouTube.
The episode just dropped on Apple, bro. I might spend my Sunday watching that.
I spent a day watching them all, which says everything. I'm embargoed, can't say more. But
okay, well. The fact that you watched them all says a lot to me in my mind. So
there were 7. I but just like leaving my opinion of that show aside, that's the model that Apple needs to follow, right? That defending Jacob every quarter, they should have one of these shows, these legal thrillers based on a fucking Grisham novel or whatever it is. Like, this is where they excel. We don't need Invasion and Foundation and all these $200 million sci-fi shows.
Silo. Yeah.
It's, I mean, still take the occasional shot, but like the ratio between those and legal thrillers, flip it.
Yeah. I'm enjoying Loot season 2. That's no one's talking about that show, and I like that show. I think Maya is great on that show, and all the cast, Ron Funches, and all of them. Nice job. That's one I'm currently working through right now.
That would work if it was a network show.
Yeah, you think? Like on ABC
on streaming?
Yeah.
Why am I watching? I'm like, it just seems like too bland, like, or too formulaic or traditional. Like, I would watch that on ABC or something.
Should I watch Idea of You? I really don't want to watch Idea of You, but should I watch Idea of You?
I've heard it's good. I'm probably not going to watch it unless Stephanie asks me to or something. But
Okay.
I like Showalter a lot as a director. I like Annie Hathaway. That kid's supposed to be really good.
That's right. You do like Anne Hathaway.
Yeah, I love her, but it's not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
I'm watching something. I'm in the middle of The Last Stop in Yuma County.
What is that? Is that a Western?
It's a crime movie. It's like an indie crime movie. The guy who directed it just got hired to do the new Evil Dead.
Ooh. Okay. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll give that. What's it on? What service is it
It's
on?
not bad. No, they sent me a screener. I don't know
Cool.
if the movie's out yet, or maybe out this weekend. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Should we talk Challengers? Did you see Challengers? Did you like it?
I was into Challengers, and then I did not like the end. Did you?
Oh, okay. All right.
Did you like the end?
I did actually. Yeah. I thought all of it worked for me and what they presented with these characters. Yeah. So you didn't dig on what happened.
You're a sports movie aficionado, John. How can you tolerate that ending?
you know.
I know people say, well, it's not about who wins.
Yeah. Well, the way they set it up, I think it fit for what they were doing. But you could see this through a certain prism, right? Like it's a bit of a condemnation of one of the main characters at the end there, and you're like, well, interesting. So I just found that to be an interesting ending. But yes,
it was watchable, and the three of them were great. Both those guys were really, really good. But
yeah,
and the score was fantastic. It was too long, and it was missing something. There wasn't enough sex in that movie. Where's the sex?
That's true. Can Feist do Sinatra now? Do you think after that movie, do you see the possibility of Mike Feist as a young Sinatra a little more?
No.
Cut it out. All right, fine. Let's move on. Streamlabs Super Chats. Let's get into them. Connor Eastley, what do you think of the news that Margot Robbie may star in Olivia Wilde's Angeline pending a script? It doesn't sound like the right next step, in my opinion.
I mean, this just doesn't sound good to me. This premise. I was shocked that Warner Brothers bought it, but also not shocked because Margot's involved, and even the potential of her starring, you got to grab it, right, to keep it away from others.
100%.
I doubt that she will play the title character in this. And yeah, just like angels fighting demons on Earth, this sounds like a movie that was written in 1998.
Yeah, good point. All right, let's see what else we got here from you all. Elusive Rock says, do you think we'll get an Avengers versus X-Men film between Avengers 5 and Avengers 6? Gotta have the Fox X-Men fight the OG Avengers if possible. Guys, you have got to learn to walk before you run. Let the X-Men get established. Let a new Avengers team get established. Then build up the conflict over numerous movies. Then you can have them fight. Try to shove it in the next few years, I think that's Zack Snyder tried to shove 4 graphic novels into one film, Batman v Superman, and it turns out terrible. So I think I don't think we're seeing I don't see Avengers vs. X-Men for a very long time. What are your thoughts, Jim?
Yeah. No, getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, way too ahead. Cody Hunt says, Giancarlo Esposito announced he's in an upcoming Marvel film. He claims the role is better than you can imagine. Any guesses as to what he might be? We kind of talked about that, but do you have any other guesses, Jeff, or should we move on?
He specifically said film?
Ooh, good question. I don't have it in front of me right now. I thought he just said he's going to be in the MCU. I don't know if he specified film.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. A lot of possibilities. We will see for sure. All right, Brandon says, there's been a social media surge about a Ninja Turtles Last Ronin in early development. Is any of this true? Yes, they announced it at CinemaCon, Paramount Plus. So yeah, it's happening.
Yeah, I'd heard about it before CinemaCon too, and I didn't look into it, but yeah,
it's happening. Get ready, guys. Jay Bling says, so Jeff, are you saying there aren't plenty of erotic thriller spec scripts out there? That would suck.
I'm sure there's a bunch of erotic thriller spec scripts out there, but nobody seems to be buying them. And Amazon's whole we're bringing back the erotic thriller so you can stay home on a Friday night with your honey, and who knows what happens after. I just don't see them making these movies, right? Or they become these sort of long, drawn out shows. Yeah, I fucking miss them, man. I really do miss them. Yeah. I think that people are just too image conscious and
yeah.
It's just, it would be bad for my brand if I, uncross my legs like Sharon Stone did in Basic Instinct.
Maybe. Brandon says, well, I wanted a Mufasa movie. I was thinking more of a young adult version of him and Scar taking on other antagonists, going through their philosophical differences, ultimately going their own ways. Not this Cub version. Well, it's being told in flashback. So you're getting Simba and Nala and their young daughter, who is being voiced by Beyonce's daughter, Blue Ivy Carter there. And then you're seeing the beginning of Mufasa. And look, the cast of Mufasa, it's a good voiceover cast. So, I mean, David Keith playing his dad, give me a break. That's a fucking great choice. So, yeah, I hear what you're saying, but it's going to be, they're setting things up for farther down the road, so to speak. Any thoughts on this?
I mean, I think it looks good. Again, it's telling an original story, which the Lion King remake did not.
Right.
So in that sense, I'm looking forward to it. And I think that the voice cast is interesting here. I'm looking forward to hearing what Aaron Pierre does with that character. Yeah.
Let's see. John Ashford says, any credence to Affleck being in talks with the MCU? Reported on IMDb. Great show as always. Yeah, Jeff, any credence to that?
Where is this coming from?
I don't know. I haven't seen the Ben Affleck thing at all.
Let's see. Ben Affleck.
Is that with 2
IMDb MCU. Ben Affleck reportedly in discussions to join the MCU. Oh, this rumor is from Daniel Richtman.
Oh, Daniel RPK. Well.
I mean, could it just be like a cameo?
Yeah, could he be showing up as Daredevil in the Secret War?
No, it says that's not true. As Rickman clarified in a Patreon comment that Affleck will not be playing Daredevil.
Oh, okay.
I just with the multiverse now, who knows? These people could come in for 2 seconds as some other character.
I just don't know why Ben would do it. He doesn't need to do it. He did Batman. You don't need to do it, man. You're good. Go.
These people can't help themselves, John.
Go direct some great Oscar-winning movies, man. Well, that's where we miss you. We miss you as a director. I am 2FlyCam to AWA says, hey man, He-Man is DOA.
Movie Animals.
What's that? What'd you say?
I said he's about to direct that movie Animals after he does the Accountant sequel.
That's right. He-Man is DOA. Indy and He-Man are relics. Not everything endures. Also, if you were starting a Star Wars trilogy, would you take Zendaya or Anya Taylor-Joy as your lead? I think I'd have to see how Furiosa does, but I would lean towards Zendaya. But I mean, Anya Taylor-Joy is an interesting choice, but Zendaya is the superstar, for God's sakes.
Yeah, I don't think that's a question whatsoever. I would definitely take Zendaya.
Fall Guy looks derivative as fuck. I like Ryan, but I'll pass. I'll wait for the apes unless I need a nap. I'm amazed how boring these films to open 2024 have been. Jeff, Apes got a lot of positive responses from reviewers yesterday. So maybe there's some hope for that movie. It looks like it might be good, actually. Do you think that could surprise at the box office?
No, I think Apes is going to do poorly.
Really?
Again, I'm looking forward to Apes, but I've heard okay things. Reviews are embargoed until the day before.
What reactions are out? But reviews.
Yeah. Okay. Let's pump the brakes here. Social media reactions are out from people on social media, and then there's real critics, like people who write for actual giant publications who don't spend every waking minute on social media, and they will issue actual thoughtful reviews.
One of those would be Scott Mantz, your compatriot there in the trenches. So just letting you know, there's quite a few people who are critics who have reacted to this in a positive way.
I mean, critics who write their reviews.
Fair. What do you think of Jeff Zhang getting called out by Wes Ball over calling the trailer soulless? Do you think that means anything?
Who got called out?
Jeff Zhang. Wes Ball responded to Jeff Zhang's comments about
who's Jeff Zhang
calling a trailer. Oh wait, Eric Davis put a reaction up for Apes. Come on, man.
Are you kidding me right now? What are we talking about here? I'm talking about critics, like critics that are published writers.
All right, fair enough. All right, let's see where else are we going to go here on this one. Let's add some more of these Streamlabs. Let's hit the Streamlabs here now. Joe Ortiz says, "What's up, John and Jeff? What movie is a guilty pleasure from your younger days that you still enjoy today? I don't know why, but if the first Delta Force or Iron Eagle is on, I'll stop and finish the movie. Yeah, Jeff, you got any guilty pleasures that
I've
you
got
still
a lot
watch?
of guilty pleasures. They are definitely not Delta Force or Iron Eagle. I mean, I guess The Burbs is like a guilty pleasure.
Oh,
Like,
there you go.
yeah, like I fucking love The Burbs. I mean, I have a ton of guilty pleasures.
Yeah. I'll tell you this: if Staying Alive is on, the sequel to Saturday Night Fever, I will fucking watch. I have a horrible love for that stupid movie, but I will watch it, no doubt. Orange Chicken Fiend says, Johnny Boy and Jeff, please tell me you got some good Star Wars movie news. Yeah, Jeff, you got anything? Star Wars movie news? Anything?
No.
Okay. All right. Jeff Roach says, any word if Hugh Jackman is staying on for more Marvel movies after Deadpool? Maybe him, Toby, and RDJ in Secret Wars?
What?
Do you think Hugh Jackman is staying? Do you have any word on if Hugh Jackman is staying on for a few Marvel movies or if it's just for Deadpool and Wolverine?
I have no idea.
Okay. All right.
I would assume this is it.
Yeah. Mike Joy says, about to see the Phantom Menace 25th anniversary release in a packed theater. Do you two have any memories of seeing it for the first time? Also, what was the worst movie you saw in a theater? Yeah, Jeff, do you remember seeing Phantom Menace? Did you go see it when it came out opening weekend?
Never seen it.
Oh my God. I love it.
Never seen that or Attack of the Clones. I did see the other one.
The Revenge of the Sith. All right. Yeah, I saw Force Awakens with the Geek Buddies. We've been friends that long. 1999 at Florida State, Tallahassee. We went to the AMC there at the mall. People were dressed up, and I remember not liking the movie. And I remember people walking out trying to convince themselves it was a good movie. And then I saw a lot of people who were super depressed with lightsabers dragging on the ground. And I know it's been reappraised, but I've watched it recently, and it's not that good of a movie still. So, but some people love it. So respect to you if you love it. I'm never going to tell you not to like something. Philly 19057 says Jeff was right. Mr. and Mrs. Smith was a great TV show, a smart intellectual approach about two people falling in love with spies. That being said, any updates on any future Donald Glover projects, Jeff?
No.
Oh, okay.
I thought he was terrific on that show. Again, the best work of his that I've seen. And I know he has 2 more Childish Gambino albums coming out, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know what will be next for him as far as acting or writing and directing goes. He should direct a feature, though.
The Community movie, I would imagine, right?
Sure. Okay.
I mean, Donald would be great to direct a Miles Morales MCU movie down the road. I think he'd be great. Haas Security Guard says, hey guys, have any of you heard or seen anything have any of you heard anything or seen I Saw the TV Glow with Justice Smith? Really liked what A24 is doing lately, and I'm taking the train into New York City to check it out since it's only a limited release so far. Thanks for everything you guys do. Yeah, Jeff, I've heard positive things about this movie. I've got a screening for it next week. Have you heard anything about I Saw the TV Glow?
I may see it tonight. I think it's out now. I've heard all good things. I've heard it's like incredible. I don't know if I believe these things necessarily.
Okay.
It looks intriguing. Again, if I can convince Stephanie to see it tonight, maybe we will. But you know, it's like, again, do you want to spend $50 to go to the theater to see that?
Yeah, that's not what I would spend money on. Like $50 at least. Yeah,
it's tricky. You know, where is my invite?
Well, yeah, I don't know. Okay, so here in San Diego, it doesn't come out till May 16th. So I don't know.
Yeah, but you guys are one of those secondary markets.
You know what? I got your secondary right over here.
We don't talk about that.
I got your secondary right fucking over here. Jack says, Jeff gave an enthusiastic answer on Campia regarding if Super Soldier Serum will be introduced in the new Captain America movie. Loved it. You 100% sold me that you cared. Were you on Campia's again today? Oh, yesterday?
I was on yesterday. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay.
I said no. Wasn't that my answer? I don't think that Super Serum will be that he will drink this Super Serum or whatever. But yeah, there were definitely I think I was in the car on the way over to the Campia show, and send me the topics, and there was one or two I was like, you got it, boss.
Oh, hilarious.
Like
James Bourne.
if you put him forward though, Roka, I would be like, Roka, what are we doing? We're talking about helmets.
Yeah.
Helmet
No,
designs.
I know what to not send you. James Bourne says, "Hey Roka, nice haircut, bro. You look sexy, dog." Yeah, right. You and Jeff are gonna get baked and watch some movies, eat some food. Oh my god, every week with this. And Jeff, you trying to fillet fish anytime soon or not? Filet of fish, McDonald's filet of fish. Jeff, are you trying that?
Dude, I've never had fish.
From a fast food place, it's probably best. It's probably smart.
Yeah, that's where I should start. I grew up in Boston and never ate fish. Never had lobster. Never had clam chowder. But yeah, no. For everybody watching, I have been doing a Campy show on Thursdays. I don't know if that'll turn into a weekly thing or whatever. I don't know if I'll ask for a different day. Obviously because hot mics are the priority on Thursdays. So we'll see. But thank you for watching. Thank you to John for having me. I really like chopping it up with those guys.
There you go.
It's just some of the topics. I'm just like, I don't know what we're talking about because I don't watch, X-Men 97 or Shogun or whatever.
Right. Bosco says, have either of you watched Ripley on Netflix? I have not watched it yet. Jeff, have you?
I watched 2 episodes and I would like to finish.
Okay.
It's just, you got to be in a certain mood, I think, for Ripley.
Yeah.
It's not a binge series, I don't think.
That's what it seems like. Yeah.
So it's a little bit more challenging. I almost like
you got to work your way through it.
Like Tokyo Vice. In that regard, where it takes some work, like that work will be rewarded. But so I do want to watch it. But yeah, other things came up.
There you go. Jay Blinks is speaking about erotic thrills of shows. There's one of interest to me called The Hunting Wives for Stars. It stars Brittany Snow and Malin Ackerman. Nothing about that second sentence makes me want to watch that.
I was like, you lost me at stars.
Brittany Snow and Malin Ackerman? No. Philly G, thank you, Philly G, for the tip. Appreciate that madly, man. You're the best. One last thing we didn't get to, Jeff. The Ronda Rousey situation. She is turning her memoirs into a movie. She's supposedly going to screenwrite the script for this for Netflix, apparently, based on a memoir, My Fight, Your Fight, and Our Fight, which a lot of people are already tearing apart publicly because apparently she's never lost a fight. It was always blame everybody else for why she lost a fight. So your thoughts on this? I feel like she's damaged goods out there, burnt the WWE bridge. A lot of people are now looking through her as a fighter, that she was successful when women fighters weren't the way they are now, and that Amanda Nunes would have tore her to pieces even back then. So why? Do you like this idea? Does this make any sense?
I mean, I don't know. I don't think Ronda Rousey is quite the same name that she was a few years ago. I don't think that, like the curiosity factor is kind of gone. I did think that it was interesting that, like, she had been doing coverage. She'd been spent the last 6 months as an intern at WME, basically.
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
She did coverage on 30 to 40 scripts, and I'm told that they took the cover page off. So they would give, she'd hand in coverage, and they send out the coverage or whatever.
Yeah.
And it didn't have her name on it, and so people would be like, "Who wrote this? This is like really good, like, breakdown of the story and the themes and all that stuff. Really good analysis." Okay. And it was Ronda. So yeah, I think her script came together really quickly. I don't know I forget if that article said that it was financed already or what, but I just don't know if the audience is there necessarily.
They said she wrote it in 7 days. Justin Crow, reporting this deadline, said she wrote the script, according to what he heard, she wrote the script in 7 days. Come on, man. I smell a little PR work being done here, man. I'm just going to put that out there.
And I think a lot of people bang out first drafts of scripts in 7 days. They do a vomit draft. Does that mean it's like, the script's any good? No.
An MMA fighter, not a screenwriter? I don't know. Maybe. But maybe you're right. Maybe she did the coverage. Maybe she learned how to do it. Maybe I'm underappreciating her or underestimating her.
Poisonous plants. Send a Streamlab.
Jeff, talk about combat. Oh no, I can't. We got to go.
Yeah,
appreciate it. I got to go sleep. All right. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. We appreciate it madly. What a fun episode of the Hot Mic here on Friday. Sorry about yesterday, but we had to do it on Friday because I was at Disney all day, and I'm going to go take another nap. Jeff, another fun show. Please let people know where they can find you and subscribe to your newsletter, man.
Johnny Mouseketeer, did you take any pictures with the mouse ears, John? Did you have a little churro in the shape of Mickey Mouse, buddy?
I'm not a churro person. I don't like churros, but I did have like 3 soft pretzels. So
I'm just a racist because you're a Latino, so I figured you eat churros.
That's a Mexican.
Yeah. Just fucking with you. You can find me at the Insneider, where I love churros, and I'm just a boring white guy.
There you go.
I cannot get enough of my churro fix. TheInsneider.com, and I should have a pretty good scoop tonight, I think.
Okay, there you go. As for me, you can follow me at The Roca Says on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, The Outlaw Nation on Twitch, and my YouTube channel. Of course, subscribe down below and hit that bell button. And if you want to send in some thanks when you watch it later, just hit that thanks button and send in some support for the channel as well. All right, y'all take care of yourselves. Be well, and we'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode of The Hot Mic. Peace. Until then, have a great weekend.
Bye.